In the first week, you have Maestro Zinman joined by the wonderful American pianist Peter Serkin in a program of Beethoven and Stravinsky, the Beethoven Second and Seventh Symphonies and the Capriccio for piano and orchestra of Stravinsky. The two Beethoven symphonies, I think, show two fascinating sides of Beethoven. In the Second Symphony, you have the sort of classical Beethoven, the Beethoven that still has ties to the age of Haydn and Mozart. In the Seventh Symphony, you have a Beethoven, an example of Beethoven, the elemental Beethoven, the Beethoven that's full of energy and full of fire, and of course there are elements of that in the Second Symphony as well, but the Seventh Symphony is perhaps the most rhythmic of all the Beethoven symphonies. I mean, each of the movements has this clear, driving rhythm, and you know, it's not for nothing that Wagner called it Beethoven's dance symphony, because it's a toe tapper. It's something that really speaks with great power and force, and I think you get a combination of both of these elements in Stravinsky. I mean, Stravinsky is the rhythmic composer par excellence. If you think of Rite of Spring, that's a great example of a sort of gigantic virtuoso showpiece that's almost devoid, in a sense, of long-breathed melody. It's fragmented, but it's all about rhythm and how to combine complex, driving rhythms. And you know, that's what made him such a wonderful ballet composer, is this knack for rhythm. So you've got that, but then you also have in the Capriccio that sort of classical wit and elegance, and it really is one of Stravinsky's most elegant neoclassical pieces for piano and orchestra. The Capriccio grew out of a series of commissions in the 1920s for pieces for piano and orchestra. Stravinsky hadn't really played piano much, and the conductor Serge Koussevitzky commissioned a piano concerto from him in 1924, and this was the time when Stravinsky started working up his piano chops again. And the Capriccio came a few years later in 1929 and was a result of him kind of rediscovering the piano as a performing instrument, and he really wanted to write pieces that he could play with orchestras and with other collaborators, pieces for violin and piano, this sort of thing. So it's a piece that captures not only these two sides of Stravinsky the composer, but also enshrines his abilities as a piano performer. And I think Peter Serkin, of the many pianists that bring wonderful qualities to bear on this kind of music, he just has such a mind and insight into this sort of 20th century repertoire. And so I think his performance of this will be something very, very special.